Part 91. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 910. With light flashing on her fingertips, Yilin stood in front of the broken throne, like a conscientious programmer, using the most primitive data flow to write the code on the throne. Yilin is now trying to truly develop a reinforcement that is entirely her own. He has currently developed 4 dharmas derived from 3 knowledge systems. Thunder Surge, Lead Flower, Deconstruction, Super Speed. The free combination of free methods has begun to take shape, but Yilin feels that it is not enough. My ideal free law should be something freer and more changeable. How to do it? It's actually very simple in theory. To get more answers, just write in as many formulas and known numbers as possible on the left side of the equation. When it is time to use it, Yilin only needs to extract the corresponding parts and temporarily form a skill. Just like pressing the Enter key on a computer, she can instantly deduce the corresponding answer. Method. Swish, swish, swish. Yilin stopped writing while busy. The 3 mother spirits who came from their respective spiritual residences had opinions. They circled the big sword, rubbing it up and down, left and right, rubbing it desperately for a long time. Master, after rubbing it for so long, there is no change. Xiaomei complained. Na, it seems real. Xiaobai agreed. No. Xiahong's eyebrows were cold and she said with great certainty. After the 3 mother spirits finished speaking, they turned their heads at the same time and stared at their young master. They felt as if they had been deceived by Yilin. You have been busy for so long in vain. Ahem, as the ancients said, as long as you work hard, an iron pestle can be ground into a needle. Maybe you didn't rub it enough? Green, don't you think so? In order to increase her persuasion, Yilin turned around and shouted to the bat on the tree. Unexpectedly, Green covered his mouth with his wings, yawned hard, and said lazily, "It's useless, don't you know?" Green didn't show any dignity at all, and instantly exposed Yilin's lies. Yilin. The 3 angry elves pounced on Yilin mercilessly, biting here and there to vent their anger. 1 person and 3 spirits made a fuss for a while. Yilin was pushed on the lake. He got up depressed and stared at Green. Why didn't you tell me earlier? Didn't you ask to? Green said confidently with his wings on his hips. Then I'm asking now, how can you rub off the rust on this deviant sword? Yilin asked more confidently. A big boss who can be called an encyclopedia lives here, and he collects some rent from time to time. Isn't it normal? The little bat squinted its red bean-like eyes and curled its lips. But it came anyway. I saw Green pressing his wings on the big sword, motionless. The other wing continued to flap. Wait a moment. Yilin looked at Green's weird movements and suddenly discovered something. It turns out that this bat doesn't fly with wings. How to flap a single wing? Are you kidding me? Since you don't fly with wings, are you showing off by flapping your wings every day and pretending to fly with them? Flapping wings is an instinct, just like your human breathing. Green seemed to be able to read minds and directly pointed out Yilin's thoughts. The core data of this gadget is damaged, and it is a little difficult to recover. Green concluded. Udiondian. No, a little bit. But you can't do it. Green mercilessly despised Yilin's weakness, but he did not continue to lie, unless there is a backup of the core data in Z1. Why do you say it as if you are playing a game? Yes, 11 Paradise is a game, don't you know? Green grinned. Have you, the registrants of 11 Paradise, never discovered it? Human beings are really terribly slow. If you dare to think about such desperate thoughts as flicking my legs 100 times again, I will let you sleep to death now, wandering in my lovely nightmare every moment, and let you sleep in your dreams, repeatedly experiencing the scene of a loved one dying tragically in front of me, and never opening my eyes again. Green read Yilin's thoughts again and threatened. There's nothing I can do, I'm just a human, I can't control my mind. Yilin couldn't help but shudder when she heard Green's threat. Although Green said it lightly, the more Yilin got to know Green, the clearer it became that it was not a joke. Humph! Green raised its chin 45 degrees, thought for a second, and decided not to argue too much with mere humans, then continued, you used the temporary backdoor created by 11 Paradise to cross the Source River and sneak across. When you arrive on our ship, a backup will be generated at the same time. As long as you don't die completely on our place, when you return, you can use the backup to restore to the moment before stowaway. So this is repair, Yilin suddenly realized. It was the first time that he truly understood the principle of repair. This is becoming more and more scientific. Getting back to the subject, if there is a backup of the core data of Gylogian, where should I find it? This. Green smiled, I have to ask her. Sir. Yeah. Don't you know everything? Theoretically yes, but in reality, it's a little bit worse. Especially for me now, it's far behind. Green used his wings to show a helpless posture. Don't ask how the movement of a bat made Yilin feel helpless, but he did get what Green wanted to express. Then, keep rubbing, what if it works? Yilin felt a little frustrated and continued to direct the three mother spirits to rub. Master, don't even think about it. The three mother spirits angrily got into their respective spiritual homes and slammed the windows tightly. Only the window of Xiaomei's spiritual residence secretly had a dense crack. What if the young master figures it out and learns to attack at night? Xiaomei thought happily before leaving. After the three mother spirits hid, Yilin continued chatting with Green. A rare opportunity. Green always likes to hang upside down and take a nap while holding onto the poor coconut. Actually, I'm very surprised. Since you don't know everything, how did 11ER figure out my current trajectory 5,000 years ago and make arrangements in advance? Have you really made arrangements in advance? Green squinted his eyes and laughed, she just put the established causes there, and you who passed by these causes and what you experienced are the results after the calculation of many causes the fruit produced. Cause and effect. In your words, you can understand it this way. How? It's very simple, Green yawned, guess, if you don't get it right once, just guess a few more times. 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, there is always one possibility, with the highest probability. For us, in the long and boring time, we can only pass the time by guessing. For you, time is a precious wealth, but for us, it is a vulgar and bad-tasting curse. Yilin looked at Green in surprise. Green's words made it seem like their mere gods were not up to par, but after thinking about it, it made Yilin think about it and become extremely frightened. Over a long period of time, think about one thing over and over again 100,000 times, 1,000,000 times, tens of millions of times. What a shame. Besides, I can probably guess what you are going to ask next. It's better not to ask. If you say a few more words, it will be an obvious violation. I don't want those annoying guys to notice it in advance. The game is more interesting if you play it according to the rules. If everyone cheats shamelessly, then this game will be even more boring. Green was sleepy again, so he flew back to the coconut tree, dug out the small coconut with two claws, and closed his eyes. No matter how Yilin shouted in her heart or flattered her, Green had no special reaction. As for scolding in secret, forget it, this is not good. After Green seemed to fall asleep, Yilin looked helplessly at the floating sword. Is it really impossible to fix it? Since it can't be repaired, what is Xiao 11's purpose of putting it in this world? Or, only when he collects all the legendary items can he understand the meaning of Xiao 11's move. The Riddler is the most annoying. Yilin secretly scolded Xiao 11 while writing the free law program. In fact, there was one thing that Yulin had always wondered about. The numbers don't add up. Xiao 11's vest in this world is called Qiju Empress. Obviously, there are 7 unique things. But why are there only 6 magic weapons passed down in the world? Where did the other thing go? Doesn't anyone find it strange? That's all. There is no time to practice, time flies by in a blink of an eye. Inside Tianjianmen, it is so peaceful that it feels like you are on vacation. Ever since Hefeng Shaha and his party came together, Yilin seemed to be free all of a sudden. Chao Rushuan and Jian Nanchun were both imprisoned. Chao Rushuan started in 3 years, and Jian Nanchun only lasted 1 year. Other disciples in the sect talked about this matter for several days, but under the constraints of their respective elders, the topic was as popular as a hot search in reality, and they were suppressed immediately. After about a few days, the disciples came and went and no longer mentioned this matter. The 2 geniuses of the Commandment Mountain, Jian Nanchun and Chao Rushuan, soon disappeared from everyone's sight. Within Tianjian sect, all departments are operating in an orderly manner. In the preaching garden, the black and white sheep teach exercises and solve doubts every 15th day, rain or shine. One day, they explored the wine cellar again and found that the only remaining Zizu wine was missing. In Baiko Mountain, Yel Yangchen would fly all over the mountains and fields from time to time, cursing as he flew, shouting about who had stolen the elixir from his garden again. In the handyman class, Chen Bei drank heavily for 10 days. He suddenly realized that it was not good to be so decadent, so he resumed his old job and went up the mountain to fetch water. In Discipline Mountain, Bai Taixin discovered Xia Ziomen's amazing talent and began to train him seriously, which made Xia Ziomen miserable. In Tai Mountain, a trickster announced a retreat one day, saying that he was investigating the secrets of heaven and had made a major discovery. In the Purple Bamboo Forest, Elder Ji Ying occasionally sat quietly playing the harp, hanging his hair and playing his fingers, feeling dejected. He later said that the song he played was called Li Ji. At Fangyuan Mountain, Ren Qingshan officially established Huitong as his personal disciple, and feeling that a breakthrough was imminent, he announced a retreat, and all affairs in the mountain would be handled by Huitong. Wenjian Mountain, Naishan He, Yilin happened to see Boss Nai sitting in silence for 3 days in front of a solitary grave with a broken sword on the top of Jianzhou Mountain when he was passing by. In Spirit Beast Mountain, one day there was news that a white snake under Likinkin seed transformed into a cute child. In Yanmo Mountain, Master Huiyan often hears that Yilin goes to the mountain to learn painting. In the world in the painting, he often asks about Jinbei's current situation. In the sword-making mountain, on a certain day, a dark and stormy night, a certain arrogant registered disciple named Lin Yi frantically refined 10 furnaces of a total of 108 chain explosions of terrifying flying swords. Elder Wu finally couldn't bear it anymore and erected a wooden sign in front of the mountain gate with a shocking blood letter written on it, Lin Yi and inferior spiritual beasts are not allowed to enter. Once, Yilin always thought that she was a passerby. He is spying on other people's stories, or witnessing other people's joys and sorrows. But gradually, when Yilin looked back, he suddenly realized that he had become a part of these stories. He gradually became a part of Tianjianmen, or in other words, this world. Unconsciously, Yilin spent another 3 years in Tianjian sect as Lin Yi. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 911. Daqian Dynasty. It is the 15th day of January in the 18th year of the Jishan calendar. Overseas Fairyland. Inside the Heavenly Sword Gate. About 2 years ago, not far from the row of simple wooden huts in the male handyman class, there was a bold disciple named Lin Yi who chopped firewood, put up beams, and built a 2-story luxurious house. Lin Yuquan told people, he finally lived in a single-family villa. Although others are not sure what villa refers to. But it sounds pretty impressive. Lin Yi even surrounded a small courtyard. The courtyard door was made of black iron wood. There was a plaque on the door. There were only 2 words on the plaque. Lin House. The signature is, Chinbei. At that time, when the Linzai villa was first built, an interesting thing happened. Some outer disciples couldn't stand Lin Yi's arrogance, so they secretly reported it to their respective masters when Linzai's villa was completed. When the elders from all the mountains heard this, some of them had bad tempers. They immediately smashed the table and got angry, cursing that it was okay. After all, Lin Yi didn't take the elders seriously. According to the rules, even the inner disciples are not qualified to live in big houses and can only live in small wooden houses. This is the good character of hardship and simplicity passed down from generation to generation by the ancestors of Tianjian section. How can a mere Lin Yi be ruined? So several elders who had long disliked Lin Yi made an appointment to take advantage of this opportunity to beat Lin Yi. That battle was not a small one. Several elders came out of the mountain at the same time. White birds were crowing in fright, dark clouds covered the sun, sand and rocks were flying, and the special effects were full. When many disciples saw this battle, they thought that Lin Yi was finally unlucky. Thousands of people followed the elder and flew to the male servant class to see the excitement. But the ending of this episode was something no one expected. Several elders had just landed in front of Lin's house. When they looked up at the same time, their faces were dark and purple, and they were silent for a moment. It happened that Lin Yi walked out of the house wearing a strange yellow hat. Several elders unexpectedly stepped forward to congratulate Lin Yi and said something like, "Congratulations on moving to a new home." This dramatic ending made most of the thousands of monks so surprised that their energy and blood surged, and they all spewed out a mouthful of blood. It is said that half a year after this incident, there was an inner disciple in Discipline Mountain who was deeply loved by Bai Taixin. Seeing that Lin Yi had received unanimous blessings from the elders, he imitated Lin Yi and spent a month. A 3-story tower was built. In the end, the inner disciple was beaten half to death by Bai Taixin, thrown into the confinement grotto, and sentenced to confinement indefinitely. It was said that he would not be released until Elder Bai felt better one day. The brand new tower was also beaten into powder by a group of elders with anger, and even a deep hole was drilled into the foundation to relieve their hatred. After this incident, all the outer disciples and some inner disciples who were unhappy with Lin Yi no longer dared to say anything wrong about Lin Yi on any occasion. 3 years and 3 years, I almost forgot that I am still the president of Tiankai Guild. Get up in the morning. In the yard. Oh, oh, oh oh oh. Xiao Qing raised her slender neck, raised her head, and crowed crisply like a rooster, waking Yi Lin up on time. Yi Lin took out the ancestral carpenter's knife, found a Jian Nanshan brand wooden figure beside the bed, and skillfully carved a knife on it. After carving it, Yi Lin placed it on the bedside. In addition to this wooden figure, there are 5 other wooden figures of the same style placed beside the bed. The wooden figures are also covered with knife marks. Sword 1, Sword 2, Sword 3, Sword 4, Sword 5, Sword 6. It takes half a year to carve 1 wooden figurine, and 3 full years to carve 6 wooden figurines. Yi Lin quickly changed her clothes. The room was a little messy. 5 rows of wooden boards were nailed to the wall to serve as a bookshelf. There was a workbench in front of the window with many small metal and wooden parts on it, as well as many hammers, nails, knives, screws and other odds and ends. On the ground, there were many wooden swords and handmade wood carvings of small animals piled randomly. Brush your teeth, wash your face, fry eggs. Yi Lin was doing her boring daily routine. Tuck 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 tuck. Someone knocked hard on the window. "Senior brother, are you here?" Yi Lin hurriedly finished the 7 ripe poached bird eggs. "Senior brother, are you here? Senior brother. I know you are in there. Senior brother, senior brother. Brother." Yi Lin was silent. Soon after she finished tidying up the house, the surrounding temperature dropped sharply. Xia Xiaomen stood by the window, holding a frosty snow sword with a dark face, preparing to break the window violently. No. Are you okay? When Yilin saw that Xia Xiaomen was about to remove one of his walls, he had no choice but to push open the window and pointed at the backyard door behind Xia Xiaomen. How many times have I told you to ring the doorbell before coming in? Didn't you install the doorbell in the most conspicuous position? Do you have to force me to set up a super killing array over the yard so that you can have a longer memory? Ah! Didn't I forget? Xia Xiaomen stuck out her tongue and put away the frost snow sword with a playful smile. Seeing that there was no one around, she skillfully got into the house through the window. As soon as he entered the room, Xia Xiaomen twitched his nose, sniffing left and right. Senior brother, where is your breakfast? Hey, I'm sorry you're late. I just ate 4 fried eggs. Senior brother, you are not kind. I'm angry. I didn't know you didn't even do your sword driving homework in the morning today and just sneaked out. I don't believe it. Senior brother, you have obviously learned the Tai Yi Gua technique. How could you not deduce that I will come to your door this morning? Bah! Is Tai Yi Gua technique used to deduce such nonsense? When the two were arguing, Xiaoqing squatted in the corner and covered her head with her wings, fearing that the two would notice her humble self. This kind of thing has been seen a lot. The two brothers and sisters had a small quarrel on the 3rd day and a big quarrel on the 5th day. I remember one time they had a fierce quarrel over something as big as who ate an extra skewer during the barbecue. Xia Xiaomen, out of anger, he swung his sword and froze one side of his cute little wings. Yilin rolled her eyes, ignored Xia Xiaomen, walked around her junior sister, sat alone in the yard, and began to meditate and breathe. In the past 3 years, Yilin has never slacked off in cultivation, and daily breathing has almost become a conditioned reflex. Cut. Xia Xiaomen was also aware of Yilin's habits. When he saw his senior brother entering the state of light speed and entering the ethereal meditation state, he did not dare to disturb him. He could only sit aside and wait for his senior brother to finish breathing. 2 hours later, Yilin opened his eyes from trance. The moment he opened his eyes, a faint light flashed past. He exhaled a long stream of turbid air. There was a faint purple mist above Yilin's head. Huh? Xia Xiaomen, who was bored and teasing Xiaoqing Fei, turned his head suddenly when he felt Yilin's tone, and said in surprise, "Senior brother, when did you enter the Qi training realm again?" In the past 3 years, Xia Xiaomen came to harass senior brother Lin Yi whenever he had nothing to do, and he became accustomed to the ups and downs of senior brother Lin Yi's cultivation, which was like a tidal wave. When it comes to other people, it would be called crazy, but when it comes to senior brother Lin Yi, it would be called reasonable. Oh, just yesterday. After sitting for 2 hours, that is, 4 hours, when Yilin stood up, the joints of her limbs made snapping sounds. After flexing her muscles, Yilin quickly walked into the house. When she came out, she had put the 6 Jianese Chun wooden figures in a box and carried it in her hands. "Why are you chasing me again, senior brother? Are you being a swindler? Did Senior Chen secretly give you another trick to quickly improve your cultivation? If I cheat to improve my cultivation, do I still need Lao Chen to teach me? I'm not exaggerating. In this regard, I can teach him just fine." Taking advantage of Lao Chen's absence, Yilin spoke shamelessly. But before he finished speaking, Chen Bei's voice came from behind. "You just said who taught whom." Yilin turned around and found Chen Bei standing behind him with a dark face, his beard trembling with anger. In this regard, Yilin was very calm, as if the words just now were not what he said at all, pointing to the door. "Old Chen, even if it is you, it is wrong to come in without knocking." "Chen Bei. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 913. Oh. Speaking of which, Lao Chen, you came just in time. The Baiko Shengtian ointment that I have stored in the Yunling array for 99 and 81 days is ready to be released today, just in time for you to try it. His Baiko Shengtian ointment. When Chen Bei heard that Lin Yi had developed a new recipe, he couldn't care less about being angry. His smile was like a chrysanthemum, and the wrinkles on his old face were all squeezed into a rice shape. Xia Xiaoman also thought the name was weird, but she knew her senior brother well and guessed, probably, a delicious pastry that is so delicious that it makes you feel like you are ascending to heaven. It's paste not cake. To put it bluntly, it is Gailing Gao, but the materials used in Yilin are all pulled from Yeliangchen's fairy grass garden. Even with the most simple method, the grade of the ingredients can be raised by dozens of grades, and the taste of the finished product will also change dramatically. Not to mention that Yilin specially placed the cooked Baiko Shengtian cream in the Yunling array for 81 days, which greatly improved the Gailing cream. Ah no, the taste of Baiko Shengtian cream is indulgently silky and smooth. Endless aftertaste. 10 minutes later. Yilin carefully took out 3 small bowls from the secret compartment of the room. The moment the small bowl opened the ceiling lid, a colorful light shot into the sky. The wave of spiritual energy that erupted in that instant blew the hair of Chen Bei, Xia Xiaoman, and Lin Yi back. This outrageous movement attracted countless cranes, and the buses stopped running. They all surrounded the Linzai villa, flying 3 times to the left and 3 times to the right. Butterflies of various colors flew from all over the fairy island, gathering like a torrent around Linzai villa, dancing gracefully. The fragrance of flowers overflows, and when you close your eyes, you can't help but have the illusion of wandering in a sea of flowers in a fairyland. Good, good, so exaggerated. Xia Xiaoman was immediately stunned by this exaggerated movement, which sounded like the birth of an ancient magic weapon. Eat quickly. Yilin did not expect that this movement would be so big. It stands to reason that the food made by soul cooking technique has attributes. Yilin's current status as an apostle is not complete. In addition to the props left by Xiao 11, he made Yilin herself didn't know what effect the food had. But according to his experience, the more special effects, the more powerful the effect. Before provoking the spirit beasts in the Spirit Beast Mountain, eat quickly first. This ointment is comparable to a heavenly elixir. Chen Bei is indeed an old oil field and very knowledgeable. When the spiritual energy surged, he judged the amazing spiritual energy contained in the food. He quickly took a big spoonful and stuffed it into his mouth, cursing as he stuffed it, "You kid, you went to Yalao's medicine garden again. Ahem, cough, cough, don't eat it if you have the guts." Picked up on the roadside. Chen Bei changed his explanation. It looks like the roadside of the Baiko Yam garden is considered a roadside, so there is nothing wrong with it? Yes, I picked it up on the roadside. Yilin nodded vigorously. The 3 of them moved in unison, squatting at the door of the villa, wolfing down the Baiko Shengtian ointment. The taste can no longer be described in words. Chen Bei and Xia Xiaoman's eyes narrowed and turned into the shape of love. Senior Chen, Xia Xiaoman felt tears welling up in the corners of her eyes because the food was so delicious, but the tears welled up in her eyes. She really cried and shouted, "It's over, I think, I'm about to form a pill." What? Pill formation? Chen Bei was stunned for a moment, and then he was shocked. Unexpectedly, the medicinal effect contained in this ointment actually broke Xia Xiaoman's bottleneck. The rich sea of qi spontaneously gathered towards the center, preparing to form a golden elixir. But forming a golden elixir is not that easy. A qi practitioner has to go through 3 tribulations in total during his practice. They are, small heavenly tribulation, great heavenly tribulation, and 9 heavenly tribulation. The small heavenly tribulation is also called the 49 heavenly tribulation. When the heavenly tribulation comes, a tribulation cloud will be strangely formed above the head, and thunder will hit the monks for it, a total of 4,936 times. To put it bluntly, when a monk starts cultivating and becomes jealous of heaven, God will find ways to punish him to death. Go there. Yulin reacted quickly and pointed to a forest a few miles away, so as not to damage the villa he had worked so hard to build. Xiaoxiaoman had just entered the great perfection state of Qi training, and his master also said that the record holder for the fastest time to form a golden elixir from the beginning of practice was Chao Rushuan. But Chao Rushuan was stuck in the Dzogchen state during the Qi training period for 5 years. But Chao Rushuan, who has been stuck at the bottleneck for 5 years, is also the holder of the fastest record. Throughout the history of Suanmen, there are only a handful of monks who can form a golden elixir within 10 years from the beginning of practice. The geniuses back then were probably the current elders. But how long has Xiaoxiaoman been practicing until now? Only 4 years. How could this bottleneck be broken by Lin Yi all at once? Even the tinpin breaking realm pill doesn't have such an exaggerated effect, right? Chen Bei smacked his mouth, as if he wanted to taste the ointment. He swallowed again to see if he could taste a different taste. Can you pass on the recipe of your ointment? The two flew aside, and Chen Bei secretly asked Lin Yi. It's difficult. When Yilin heard this, she knew that Chen Bei was planning his own formula and wanted to benefit other disciples of Tianjian section. But apart from the light from Yeliangchen's medicinal garden, Yilin estimated that the most important factor in the cooking effect of the Baiko Shengtian ointment was his sole cooking technique, so Yilin shook her head helplessly. It's not the formula, it's me the problem. Only the food I make has this effect. That's it. When Chen Bei heard this, he suddenly realized that although Lin Yi's words were a bit unbelievable, Chen Bei had no doubts. One is out of understanding of Lin Yi, and the other is trust. Although this kid usually lies a lot but doesn't follow the rules, he doesn't make nonsense about this kind of thing. While the two were talking, Xiaoxiaoman came to the open area and looked up at the sky nervously. Overhead, a hole appeared in the clouds over Xiandao, and a black calamity cloud emerged from the white cloud hole for no reason. There was a faint electric light lingering in the calamity cloud, making random crackling noises, as if it would hit Xiaoxiaoman's head at any time. Chen Bei took a look and said with a smile, "Don't worry, the restriction of Tianjian sect is enough to weaken Jiyun by 3 points, plus I have my help." Before Chen Bei finished speaking, Yilin shook his head and said with a smile, "You should keep pretending. I heard that this lightning disaster is not entirely harmful to the monks themselves. As long as they can withstand it, the cloud of disaster can temper the body of the monks. It has the effect of washing away impurities from the body. As long as it is not chopped to death, those who can withstand the lightning disaster will have twice the result with half the effort in the future. Hee, but if you use your hands and feet a little, it shouldn't be a big problem. Fortunately, I was prepared. Junior sister, sit still and meditate, sit tight." Xiaoxiaoman felt a little more at ease after hearing this, and sat down obediently. As Yilin waved his hand, 36 iron rods as thick as fingers were taken out from the storage space and inserted in a circle around where Xiaoxiaoman was sitting cross-legged. When Xiaoxiaoman saw his senior brother helping, he was grateful but also secretly wondered, "Senior brother, what are you doing?" "This is called a lightning protection array, specially used to withstand lightning disasters." Xiaoxiaoman was shocked and deeply moved. "Senior brother, you actually expected that I would survive the tribulation today?" Yilin touched her nose awkwardly. He was embarrassed to say that these lightning rods were originally prepared for himself. Yilin could only deny silently. However, Xiaoxiaoman took it as acquiescence. At the same time, he was moved and immediately used the frost snow sword and activated the technique. Suddenly, Xiaoxiaoman's whole body was enveloped in a snow-white aura. With Xiaoxiaoman as the center, the ground was covered with flowers and green grass, and a thin layer of frost spread rapidly from the inside to the outside. Chen Bei sighed at the side, I never expected that a favor I owed to Emperor Xiaoyuan in the past, which I thought was to help his orphan in danger, ended up bringing a talented disciple with outstanding qualifications to our sect. The implication is that Chen Bei is lamenting that Xia Xiaoman's talent is really great. After a while, he felt that there was something wrong with what he said. He turned to look at Lin Yi, who looked calm, and sighed, "No. It's 2 people. Buy 1, get 1 free." Yilin shook his head, "I'm not a genius." Yilin was embarrassed to say the second half of the sentence, "I am actually a jealous genius." During the cycle of reincarnation, Yilin's character rarely breaks out, and the top-notch red talent that comes out of rolling the dice is no joke. Yilin inserted the iron rods around Xia Xiaoman and didn't interfere too much. She and Chen Bei retreated further. The movement of transcending the tribulation was so loud that it was impossible for others in the door not to react at all. Many disciples are curious and want to see which genius in the sect has entered the Golden Elixir Avenue. They looked up and saw the movement coming from Lin Zai's villa. Many disciples couldn't help but feel a little scared, fearing that it was the great demon Lin who had broken through the Golden Elixir. He was able to go through such troubles when he was not a Golden Elixir. If he was really so outrageous and entered the Golden Elixir Avenue in just a few years, would the Tianjian sect be able to accommodate other mediocre disciples? There's no room for it. Then, after 2 years, the Tianjian sect once again staged a spectacular scene of thousands of disciples taking off. Everyone wanted to see immediately who had made a breakthrough near Linzai Villa. Except for Elder Ren Qingshan, who was in seclusion at Fangyuanshan, the other elders came to join in the fun whenever they had time. Bai Taixin arrived the fastest. When he saw that it was Xia Xiaoman who he had carefully cultivated sitting on the ice, he counted the years with his fingers and tensed his abdominal muscles with excitement. He walked lightly towards the other Nai Shanhe and Nai Shanhe who were coming. Liang Chen, Mu Lingkong and other old friends introduced with a smile, "Not bad, not bad. I have lived up to my hard work and tireless training. I was able to step into the Golden Elixir Avenue in just 4 years, which is barely comparable to what I did when I was young, 23 out of 10. On the side, Liang Chen snorted coldly, "It took you a whole 9 years. Bai Taixin held his head high, and his momentum was not weak. "How could I remember that it took you 11 years too? You." Below, Xia Xiaoman was preparing to survive the calamity, but the elders above were vaguely ready to fight. Xia Xiaoman couldn't care less about the situation above now. He raised his head and stared straight at the black calamity cloud in the sky that was getting stronger and stronger, until her neck was extremely sore. A white thunder light as thick as a thumb squeaked, finally belatedly arriving, and landed on Xia Xiaoman's head. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Shueshi. Chapter 914. Xia Xiaoman said he wasn't nervous, but that was a lie. The base of her legs were shaking. What she never expected was that she would attract a crowd of elders and thousands of disciples to watch her just by crossing the tribulation. What she doesn't know is, when the calamity clouds began to gather over Xiandao, the white-haired master who had been practicing in seclusion all year round on the Supreme Mountain slowly opened his eyes in the boundless darkness. Xia Xiaoman began to overcome the tribulation. The first thunderstorm fell and was easily blocked by the frost snow sword. The second course. The third way. 49 thunder tribulations, 9 numbers are 1 level. Xia Xiaoman blocked the first level of thunder tribulation easily and his breath was steady. At the beginning of the second level, Xia Xiaoman entered the state and began to use the protective magic weapon given by Bai Taixin. The magic weapons have various shapes, including bronze mirrors, paper figures, small shields, and hairpins. One magic weapon after another took turns to push forward, finally allowing Xia Xiaoman to survive the 4th level of thunder tribulation. For each level of thunder tribulation, the power of the thunder tribulation can be assessed by observing its shape and thickness. The first level of thunder tribulation was only as thick as a thumb, but by the 3rd level, it was already as thick as a baby's arm. After blocking a total of 3,927 thunders, there was a faint purple light in the center of the white thunder. The whole Sword of Frost snow sword was trembling and shaking, as if it was at the end of its strength. Xiaoxiaoman looked even worse. Blood was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, his face was pale, and he was badly shocked. In the air. Seeing this, Liang Chen sighed softly and expressed his thoughts, it's a pity. Being able to overcome the tribulation in the 4th year of practice is already a genius among geniuses. It's just that she lacks the background and has little time to prepare, so she must be in trouble. The tribulation failed this time, and the elixir formation failed. At least it will damage the spiritual root, and at worst, it will be converted to a fake elixir and rebuilt. The future will be difficult. Elder Hua Wu of Zhejian Mountain also thinks the same way. Yet, on the side, Shi Huiyan, who had been silent all this time, chuckled, and saw thick ink color like smoke floating under her feet, floating in the air, and her whole body exuded a desirable purity and elegance. Shi Huiyan looked away from Chen Bei and landed on Lin Yi, who was sitting cross-legged in the distance. In my opinion, not necessarily. She didn't say the reason. It's also very simple. Because, that Lin Yi, he is still smiling. Junior sister, breathe in and breathe out, don't be anxious. Yi Lin's voice reached Xiaoxiaoman's ears. Xiaoxiaoman's meridians were completely empty at this moment, and his true energy was almost exhausted. There are 9 more terrible thunder disasters ahead. If this continues. At this time, the senior brother finally spoke up. The two eyes met each other briefly. Yi Lin gave Xiaoxiaoman an encouraging smile, recover quickly, I'll delay it for you for a while. Procrastination. This is a catastrophe, how can you delay it? Xiaoxiaoman was shocked when she heard this, but for some reason, out of trust in her senior brother, she sat down in front of everyone, with her 5 hearts in the sky, running her skills, and started to condense spiritual energy as quickly as possible. Boom! The 28th thunder. The white and purple lightning thundered down. That's almost it. Yi Lin put her hands behind her back and used the free method to remotely activate the puzzling lightning rods that had been placed around her junior sister early in the morning like decorations. After the lightning rod was activated, the thunder that fell towards Xiaoxiaoman's head suddenly turned around halfway and headed towards one of the lightning rods, as if it was convulsed by the wind. Seeing this scene from the air, Liang Chen and Hua Wu, who were shaking their heads and chatting and laughing, were immediately stunned. What's happening here? The calamity thunder that was supposed to hit Xiaoxiaoman's head was actually taken away. This is impossible. Who took it away? This Lin Yi can even steal thunder? Lishan Da Pu. Innocent, several elders watching the show from the air said in unison and instantly became on-site commentators. Nai Shan he frowned slightly, you want to use this trick to overcome the tribulation? It's impossible. The tribulation thunder is not an ordinary thunder method. Otherwise, for the disciple to overcome the tribulation, I would just go up and help disperse the tribulation clouds. In the tribulation thunder, but it contains the laws of heaven and earth, otherwise how can it be called a tribulation? Overcoming a tribulation is both a disaster and an opportunity. The only way is to survive in death and fight to the death. Liang Chen gritted his teeth, it's Lin Yi again. They all saw that it was Lin Yi who had done something wrong. This formation is a bit interesting. The 2 sheep, black and white, were of the same mind and praised at the same time. As if Lin Yi was their direct disciple, the 2 elders puffed up their chests at the same time. Hua Wu touched his chin beard and wondered, no wonder he just snatched a basket of thunder-inducing gold from the warehouse a few days ago and secretly opened the furnace. It turned out that he refined these 36 pieces of crap. When Liang Chen heard this, he immediately taunted him, hey! Doesn't your sword-forging mountain not allow Lin Yi to enter the mountain? How could Hua Wu endure this ridicule? At that moment, he mocked her back without any courtesy, "Don't you also not let Lin Yi set foot in your medicine garden? Didn't he steal batch after batch? You. Ye Liang Chen never expected that such a shameful thing would be exposed by Hua Wu in front of so many people. Lao Ye's hands shook for a long time, but in the end he didn't say the reason. He forced out a mouthful of blood, staining the sky with blood. Lao Ye vomited blood and ignored it for now. After a brief discussion, the group of elders returned to paying attention to Xia Xiaoman's journey through the tribulation. During their conversation, the calamity thunders continued one after another, and a few more fell. Every lightning bolt is drawn by the 36 lightning rods. The terrifying power of thunder circulated crazily among the 36 lightning rods, and the dazzling lightning intertwined into a gorgeous power grid, surrounding Xia Xiaoman. Under the 36 lightning rods, the ice surface cracked, and the iron rod made of fine gold that attracted lightning, emitted a terrifying high temperature due to the current, melting the surrounding ice into water, and the water turned into mist, which made Xia the surrounding area is like a double sky of ice and fire, hazy in the steaming mist. The power of thunder is weak. Someone discovered the clue. 9 lightning tribulations have fallen, all concentrated in 36 lightning rods. Although it is difficult to detect, the power of the tribulation thunder weakens by half as it circulates repeatedly. Sure enough, even if it is a catastrophe, the most fundamental component is electric current. According to the law of conservation of energy, when the electric current passes through a conductor with resistance, part of it will be lost in the form of heat. However, limited by the material, this lightning rod it won't be long, otherwise I can help junior sister consume some of the energy contained in the thunder. Yilin stretched out a finger, moved it left and right in front of her eyes, closed her eyes, smiled, and murmured to herself. Aiden said, "You must believe in science. This is science. We need to cultivate ourselves scientifically. There is no suspense about what happens next." An hour later, Xia Xiaoman's anger was almost gone and he stood up again. She felt the power of thunder coming from the surrounding power grid, gripped the frost snow sword, and prepared to deal with it. Click. One of the lightning rods cracked, and the tribulation lightning contained on it sprang out and shot towards Xiaoman again. But after a round of shameless consumption, this tribulation thunder was divided into 36 parts. This tribulation thunder alone was no longer enough to pose a threat. Xia Xiaoman raised his sword excitedly and blocked it easily. "Senior brother. It's so easy to overcome this tribulation." Xia Xiaoman was probably the monk who had such joy in overcoming the tribulation in history. At the end, as if for fun, he killed one with a snap, and then another with a snap. Seeing Xia Xiaoman playing in the midst of the tribulation thunder, several members of the elder group who were not optimistic about this tribulation at first were so depressed that they wanted to vomit blood. But a few of them looked at each other and discovered new blind spots. Wait, if this outrageous method of overcoming tribulations can be promoted, then in the future, within our heavenly sword sect, we dare not say that the higher level, at least the 49th tribulation of the golden core cultivator, won't it be able to reach 100%? A pass rate of 100? Swish, swish, swish. Thinking of the several elders on this floor, they all focused their attention on the face of the hateful young man who was smiling from beginning to end. The tribulation thunder has dissipated. The clouds are opening and the sun is shining brightly. The sun fell on Xia Xiaoman. A steady aura belonging to the golden core cultivator rose up from Xia Xiaoman's body. Xia Xiaoman, Princess Daqian, after 4 years of practice, finally became the youngest golden elixir monk in the history of Tianjian sect. I'm afraid no one can break this record. The elders expressed deep emotion at the same time. They seemed to be witnessing the rising star of tomorrow. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 915. The group of elders sighed with emotion. Some are as calm as water. Some facial muscles twitch. Some of them were smiling and sincerely congratulated by Taixin, who smiled like a chrysanthemum. None of them expected that the eldest Princess Yazaoman, whom they had brought into the family because of a promise, would one day win the title of number one among the younger generation. Some of her contemporaries are even doing odd jobs. She seems to have stepped into the golden elixir avenue. Certainly. Strictly speaking. Xia Xiaoman, Lin Yi, and several other disciples who walked out of the handyman class around the same time as them. These people cannot be said to be of the same generation as Jian Nanshan, Chao Rushuan, Li Qianqian, and others. The generation of Chao Rushuan and Jian Nanshan may appear to be young, but only in the minds of the qi refiners. In fact, the youngest ones are in their 30s, and each of them has become an old golden elixir. As for Xia Xiaoman, after just 4 years of training, he stepped into the realm of the golden elixir. Such a talent cannot be said to be unprecedented, but at least it is unprecedented, establishing his reputation as the number one genius in this generation. No wonder Bai Taixin smiled like a flower. Many fellow disciples wearing discipline uniforms congratulated Xia Xiaoman. Obviously, after 4 years of alchemy, this report card was handed over, which made it difficult for others to feel jealous. On the contrary, they sincerely lamented that fortunately, the title of the first person of the younger generation still fell into the Discipline Mountain lineage. Let the Commandment Mountain maintain its strict status and still occupy the aloof position of maintaining the sex rules within the Tianjian sect. The atmosphere became lively. Bai Taixin and Xia Xiaoman were surrounded. Although there are some conflicts among the elders of Tianjian sect, these conflicts are all benign. Most of the elders who felt uncomfortable secretly resented why they didn't have the insight to recruit Xia Xiaoman in the first place. At the same time, they scolded the disciples of their own lineage as soon as they turned around. Some disciples with poor qualifications have been practicing for 20 years and are still lingering in the Qi training stage. This comparison can really piss people off. Look at Ye Liang Chen, wasn't he vomiting blood because of his anger? Maybe while vomiting, I really vomited something wrong. Are you envious? Yilin looked at Xia Xiaoman, who was surrounded like stars over the moon, and Bai Pang, who was surrounded by the group of elders with eager eyes. Yilin lowered his head and asked Chen Bei beside him. Hey, what do I, Lao Chen, have to envy? Do you know the 2 elders of Xuande Yuan? They have an eldest disciple who you probably haven't seen before. He has been performing secret sect missions outside the mountain for many years. He is known as the Elder Below. The first person was trained by me, Chen Bei. No one knows, right? Yilin looked at Chen Bei with a smile. Chen Bei was speechless for a moment. No one really knows about this. Even among the elders, not many knew about this matter. What if, I'm just saying what if, the person surrounded by the disciples now is not Xiaoman, but me, would you be happy? Chen Bei didn't understand what Yilin meant by asking such a strange question, so he answered dumbfounded, aren't you talking nonsense? Yilin dusted himself off, stood up from the ground, and said with a smile. Old Chen, you know me. I'm not a pushy person. Chen Bei. He actually wanted to say, are you not pushy? But before he had time to comment, Yilin continued. Now, although all the elders don't mention it, they probably have acquiesced that I am yours. You may not be in the section apart from being very old, you don't have any title, and you don't have a formal apprentice. But you've been in a lot of trouble these past few years, and I haven't given you anything in return except those bottles of purple bamboo wine that I collected from my sheep. On a whim just now, I was wondering if it would make you feel better if I gave you a face while everyone is here. Chen Bei tilted his head, long face. Yes, I have a long face. A bright smile bloomed on the young man's face. I'll give you a big face. Do you want to? Chen Bei stared, and he vaguely understood what the young man wanted to do. Yilin took 2 steps, then suddenly thought of something and turned back. When I show my strength, you will still protect me, right? Qianbei was a little moved at first, but when he heard Yilin's last words, he couldn't help laughing and scolding. If you want to show it off quickly, grinding and chirping. What does it look like? Xia Xiaoman blushed and happily accepted the congratulations from his classmates. In fact, she is still a little confused now. She just came to see her senior brother as usual, ate a bowl of Baiko Shengtian ointment, and then directly broke the bottleneck and caused the catastrophe. Xia Xiaoman was not prepared at all. What was even more unexpected was that this disaster was over. Oh, by the way, where is senior brother? Xia Xiaoman suddenly woke up. This honor was 90% of the credit of his senior brother. The group of elders congratulated Bai Taixin one after another and congratulated the Discipline Mountain sect for producing another genius. He was always one step ahead and poached many good ideas. Xia Xiaoman didn't show any qualifications back then, so why was Bai Pang targeting him? There was Chao Rushuan before him, and Xia Xiaoman behind him. The prosperity of this lineage of the Commandment Mountain made other elders both envious and hateful. After congratulating him, he naturally went back to scolding others. Staying here has no other use than being a green leaf for Bai Taixin. But just when Hua Wu, Nai Shan He, Black and White Air Yang, Gaidao Ran, Shi Huiyan, Mu Lingkong, Hua Wu, and Ye Liang Chen were preparing to leave, a slightly joking voice came from the ground. It's rare to get together, so don't leave in a hurry. The person who said this was Lin Yi. It's that Lin Yi. If in the past Lin Yi made noises and made small fuss in every mountain, which only made the elders angry and helpless, then when Lin Yi created his own lightning protection array, he helped Xia Xiaoman step into it in one fell swoop. The incident at the Golden Core Realm made all the elders really look at Lin Yi with new eyes. Even the gate of the mountain was blown up round after round, and the garden was stolen again and again, and the medicinal garden was stolen again and again. When Lin Yi looked at Lin Yi again, he was thinking about one thing. Should we try every possible means, ignore past grudges, bear the burden of humiliation, and recruit the registered disciple Lin Yi into the sect, and first use his qualifications as an inner sect disciple to secure him? If that doesn't work, one step will lead you to your stomach, become your personal disciple? But I'm afraid that Qianbei won't agree. Although Qianbei has long since stopped doing things, he is still the same Qianbei. Lin Yi's words. The elders who were about to leave suddenly stopped, and all the eyes of the audience were focused on the smiling young man. Time flies, and Lin Yi is in his 4th year in Tianjian sect. The annoying boy in the past has grown into a tall and strong young man. Now, after listening to his loud speech, every elder had the same question in their mind. What else is this kid trying to do? Yilin's hub. Green opened his eyes with a pleasant smile on his lips. On the incomplete throne, the soul clone shone brightly, as if it were the real thing. The calm and mirror-like spiritual sea suddenly boiled violently, and bubbles appeared and died on the surface of the lake. Violent whirlpools surged, and countless glowing tentacles pulled the soul clone on the throne into the depths of the lake. Yilin took a deep breath. Seam. It ignited. He couldn't help laughing. A man is a boy until he dies. Soul clones, merge. In front of everyone, Lin Yi, whose breath only stayed at the great perfection of Qi training realm, seemed to have pierced something, and in the blink of an eye, he broke through the bottleneck. Earth-shaking changes were taking place in Yilin's Qi sea. The thick sea of Qi, infused with the huge spiritual energy accumulated by the sudden soul clone, squeezed crazily in the meridians. Finally, the Qi squeezed to the extreme condensed into the first drop of water in the meridians. The howling wind gathered around Yilin, sweeping up the fallen leaves and petals in the sky. The true energy flowing in the meridians, like a raging hurricane, all converged on Yilin's Danshan, which is the location of the lower abdomen. This drastic change made Yilin feel a little urgent to urinate for no reason. Yilin's breath climbed up easily. That's the aura of Jindan Avenue. No. Layer. Second floor. Lin Yi's breath is still rising. At the same time, the calamity clouds that had just dispersed in the sky gathered together again before they could go far. This calamity cloud was larger, rounder, and darker than the calamity that Xiaoxiaoman had experienced. Dark clouds of calamity rolled in the sky, so thick that they looked like they could drip out of ink at any time. Everyone looks to the sky, including Chen Bei. Chen Bei was quite happy at first, secretly thinking that the sky finally stopped pretending and went straight to show his cards. Feeling happy, Chen Bei stared at the ridiculously black calamity cloud in the sky. He was stunned and couldn't laugh anymore. Wait a minute, there is something wrong with this calamity cloud. This is clearly between 4 and 9. The 59th thunder tribulation between the thunder tribulation and the 69th thunder tribulation. Thunder tribulation has been upgraded. Nishan he frowned, with a look of shock in his eyes, and said to himself, according to legend, in certain special circumstances, the tribulation clouds for monks to overcome the tribulation may rise to one level. One is committing great crimes and doing all kinds of harm to nature. He is a person who is riddled with cause and effect, and whose sins are overwhelming. Below, Chen Bei stared intently at the mysterious black cloud that was growing rapidly, spreading hundreds of miles across the fairy island, and almost covering the entire cave sky, and then continued Nishan He's words, the second one is, the genius of heaven's jealousy. Maybe it's because of Lin Yi's qualifications that he suddenly emerged with such amazing talent and beauty that he was jealous of the heavens. Everyone is shocked. Yilin also noticed that his Jiyun and Xiaoxiaomans didn't seem to be on the same level. But Yilin didn't have too many mood swings because of this. Accidents related to luck were hardly surprising to him. They were unexpected and expected. Fortunately, I was prepared. Yilin smiled slightly and let go. A total of 108 lightning rods flew into the sky, and finally were inserted around Yilin at the same time, forming a complex magic circle. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 916. Many elders instantly felt like they were stabbed in the back. As soon as they exclaimed, "No one can beat Xiaoxiaoman's record," they were slapped in the face by Lin Yi on the back. Lin Yi's aura was rising steadily, entering the golden elixir stage in the blink of an eye. But in order to truly enter the golden elixir avenue, one must survive this catastrophe before he can count. Once you are unable to withstand this calamity, all your hard work over the years will come to nothing and turn into smoke. Lin Yi's skill actually doesn't last many years. Yilin's golden pill tribulation first laid out 108 thunder-inducing gold, and then his aura increased to a level more powerful than Xiaoxiaoman's. There was no suspense. But once the calamity cloud changes, the suspense is gone. The elders are experienced and seasoned. They recognized at a glance that the calamity cloud above Lin Yi's head was not a conventional calamity. While he was instructing the disciples in the sect to retreat quickly to avoid being struck by the wrong person, he was also secretly wondering in his heart. The golden elixir tribulation can usher in 5 or 9 thunder tribulations, and most of them are people from the demon sect who do all kinds of evil. But Lin Yuxian had a clean background. In addition to making small troubles and making people annoying, he had nothing to do with big evil. How could Jilei be upgraded out of thin air? Then, after just a few breaths, the extremely puzzled elders looked at each other and unanimously came to a conclusion. He's such a jealous genius. How is that possible? Lin Yi's qualifications are so jealous. It seems outrageous, but Lin Yi was able to practice from scratch to what he is today in just 4 years, and he has unique insights into many disciplines such as alchemy, weapon refining, formations, hexagrams, etc. Such a talent cannot be met with. It's not surprising that I'm jealous. God is jealous of the genius. God is jealous of the genius. Although this Lin Yi is annoying, he is also a disciple of my Tianjian section. If he dies in the thunderstorm today, it will be a great loss to our righteous path. If there is a last resort, Senior Chen will most likely take the risk to interfere with other people's natural disasters in order to save Lin Yi. After a few people whispered a few words, it soon became quiet. Thousands of disciples retreated one after another under the on-site command of their respective elders. Exit 10 miles away. In the corner of the fairy island, not far from Lin Zi's villa, an empty square was cleared, leaving only Lin Yi and 108 lightning rods sitting there. Xia Xiaoman, who had just stepped into the Jindan Avenue, could not suppress the powerful fluctuations of her aura. Waves of ripples invisible to the naked eye rippled around her. Around her, pieces of distorted light and shadow and thin ice slag appeared. The thunderstorm is brewing. Yulin smiled the whole time and looked up at the sky. It seemed that what he was about to face was not an upgraded thunder tribulation, but an ordinary low-level spiritual beast. Such demeanor and calmness made many elders nod secretly. Usually they only knew that Lin Yi hated being rude, but this was the first time they saw with their own eyes such a serious and calm side of Lin Yi. Boom. Yulin seemed relaxed. But in fact, he was a little confused. Now he is going through the tribulation in full view of the public. He couldn't expose all his trump cards. While retaining strength, how to solve this disaster without losing grace is the biggest problem. The elders' vision is no better than that of junior sisters. Junior sisters can fool around at will, but in front of the elders, if they use abilities that do not belong to monks at will, they will be suspected in a minute. Look at Chao Rushuan. He was imprisoned for 3 years because he was suspected of being a devil's mastermind. The first thunder struck like a test, carrying a deafening thunder. Yulin raised his hand, light rippling in his palm, and clapped forward. He now has 2 power systems. One is the spiritual energy value. The second is the Qigong practitioner's skills. Spiritual energy value and true energy can be transformed into any form through the transformation of the pivot. I believe that as long as Yulin doesn't make it too exaggerated, the elders may not be able to tell the clues at a glance. Yulin's eyes flashed, and the Yunti wind body technique was activated. The howling wind formed invisible barriers all around. The falling thunder was as thick as a thumb, and after being blocked by the wind wall, its speed was weakened by 3 points. With a bang, Yulin, who was running the cloud body wind body technique, forcefully shouldered the first thunderbolt. The second course. The third way. The calamity thunder continued continuously, and in the blink of an eye, it struck 9 times in a row. Lin Yi is also a genius. Like Xia Xiaoman, it shouldn't be a problem to withstand the first 3 levels of thunder tribulation. The key is the 4th level of thunder tribulation, and the 5th level that was added out of thin air. Although Liang Chen was brutally stabbed in the back, he was still paying attention to Lin Yi's journey through the disaster, frowning, and secretly wondering how Lin Yi should deal with it next. There are 9 tribulation thunders in the 1st level. Lin Yi chose to resist forcefully. He didn't even use his magic weapon, which was somewhat unexpected by the elders. By the way, Xia Xiaoman has the Frost Snow Sword, which gives him a natural advantage over others in overcoming tribulations. But apart from Lin Yi going to Sword-making Mountain to refine some gadgets from time to time, have any of you seen him? Does he have other magic weapons? Zhujianshan Huowu suddenly turned his head and asked the other elders. Naishan he pondered for a moment and shook his head. 3 years ago, Senior Chen Bei took Lin Yi to Wenjian Mountain. 3 years ago, Gong Yang He and Gong Yang Bai, who were worried at the side, each held a chess piece, holding it in their mouth without releasing it, and lifting it without dropping it. When the two brothers heard this, they said in unison, at that time, Lin Yi was only in the Naki realm, but he actually dared to step into the sword tomb. Shi Huiyan didn't seem surprised by this. She looked at Nai Shanhe. The point is, did Lin Yi ask about the sword? When Nai Shanhe heard this, he fell silent. After a brief silence, Nai Shanhe's eyes flashed and he said something strange. At that time, I thought he failed. But at this moment, I can't be sure. Lin Yi's tribulation continues. As the elders had speculated, the first 3 thunder tribulations, a total of 27 thunders, did not pose a threat to Lin Yi. I saw Lin Yi forcibly running his skills and carrying down the tribulation thunder one by one. The smile on his face remained the same, and it seemed that there was nothing serious. At the 4th level, the power of the calamity thunder doubled, and when it fell, it was like the might of the vast sky pressing down on it. Even the elders, at their advanced level, could not help but change their expression slightly when faced with the calamity thunder that hid the rules of heaven and earth. They had the illusion that they were being watched closely by the sky, and they felt uncomfortable all over. Yulin pressed down her palm to activate the 3-ring lightning protection array. The light of thunder and lightning circulated in 108 lightning rods, forming a complex and intertwined power grid, wrapping Lin Yi in it. This process of overcoming the tribulation is almost exactly the same as Xiaoxiaomen's. The only difference is that there are much more sticks than when Xiaoxiaomen went through the tribulation. The 4 levels of thunder tribulation were easily dissipated. The long-awaited 5th level of thunder catastrophe finally came belatedly. A strange white and black thunder struck the head. It's actually a heart-killing disaster. Chen Bei couldn't sit still anymore and stood up suddenly. Yulin raised his head, and when the strange thunder struck down, he also noticed something was wrong. Before the thunderbolt hit her head, Yulin felt waves of heart palpitations, as if her heart in her chest was being forcibly pulled out of her body by some force. Yulin's face changed slightly, but she wasn't too panicked. She was thinking about whether to use a killer weapon. At this moment, a bat appeared strangely next to Yulin. Come on, stretch out your hand. They can't see me. They're pretending to do it. Green's eyes were bright, looking at the black calamity clouds in the sky, and he sucked back the saliva that almost flowed out. Look at the snacks. It tasted good, so I went and ate it. The little bat licked its tongue and flew into the sky. In the blink of an eye, Green disappeared into the calamity cloud. The heart-killing calamity was struck halfway and disappeared strangely. When Yulin realized what was happening, the green boss was convulsed and was about to take action, so Yulin was obedient and stretched out his hand, pretending to say, I fired my ultimate move. After a few seconds, Calamity Cloud. They scattered with a pop sound. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 917. On this day, Tianjian sect was destined to be very lively. From an overall perspective, it is gratifying that Tianjian sect welcomes 2 golden elixir cultivators. The 5th level of thunder tribulation that everyone had been expecting just disappeared inexplicably. Lin Yi raised his right hand to the sky at the end. Some people thought that Lin Yi had done something inhuman to disperse the thunder clouds. Some people think that Lin Yi will never have such ability. Maybe the so-called 5th thunder tribulation is just a fake move, a little joke played by heaven on everyone. In short, it was a false alarm. Lin Yi successfully formed the golden elixir and entered the golden elixir avenue. At this point, Lin Yi became a true golden elixir stage chi refiner. After stepping into the golden elixir avenue, only then can I dare to say to others that I am an expert or an immortal, and that I am qualified to walk in the world like Jian Nanshun and show off like the wind. It took Yulin 2 days to get used to the new ability system. In fact, Yulin felt that there was not much of a difference. He could use the skills he could use before entering the golden pill, and he could use them after entering the golden pill. There was not much difference. To use a metaphor, it's equivalent to doubling his spiritual power, that's all. Yilin didn't feel much from the beginning to the end. What impressed Yilin the most was that when he was suspended in the sky and admired by thousands of people, Yilin noticed that Qianbei was smiling very happily. Even his expression was several times more satisfied than when he secretly drank Zizu brew. After spending a few days, Yilin hid in the villa to stabilize the atmosphere after the breakthrough. He collected all the leaked energy and looked like a normal person on the surface, then he opened his eyes and walked out of the room. Yilin carried the 6 sword puppets again and came to the Commandment Mountain. He originally wanted to come on the day of the tribulation. He never expected that a mouthful of Baiko Shengtian ointment would allow Xia Xiaoman to break through on the spot. Later, he was able to break through by the way, so he was delayed for a few days. In the past few days, Xia Xiaoman has not come to harass him. It seems that he is being watched closely by Bai Taixin and is meditating in a small retreat in the discipline hall. When Xia Xiaoman showed her talent, Bai Taixin almost treated Xia Xiaoman as a quasi-disciple and served her, stuffing all kinds of magic weapons and panaceas into Xia Xiaoman's room. Actually, what Xia Xiaoman didn't know was that Bai Taixin had already submitted the report of accepting Xia Xiaoman as his direct disciple to the head of the school, but had not yet received approval. The direct disciples are almost the successors of the next elder. Every elder who accepts a direct disciple must obtain the approval of the headmaster. When they came to Discipline Mountain with the rich gift, Bai Taixin and Xia Xiaoman were not there, so Yilin found a random place to stay. Senior brother Jian, don't make any more noise this time, or you will be imprisoned for a few more years. Yilin thought of the miserable senior brother Jian and couldn't help but sigh. Speaking of which, at that time, Jian Anshan was only supposed to be detained for 1 year. But as soon as he came out, Yilin didn't even have time to help him clean up his bad luck. Jian Nanshan foolishly made a scene in front of Bai Taixin, shouting, "Junior sister Chao is innocent, I, Jian Nanshan, will definitely seek justice for junior sister Chao. Return to the heaven and earth, the sun and the moon, the universe, my fate is up to me and not up to God," and so on. Bai Taixin was so angry that he flew into a rage on the spot, interrupted Jian Nanshan's newly recovered legs with a palm, threw him into confinement again, and locked him up again. Year. Then in the 3rd year, history was always surprisingly similar. Jian Nanshan still didn't understand it, so he went out to make trouble again, had his legs broken again, and was imprisoned for another year. Year after year, every time Jian Anshan comes out, it lasts less than a day, just like taking an annual vacation. Now it is the 3rd year. In other words, Jian Nanshan and Chao Rushuanban were also imprisoned for 3 years. Yilin was holding on to the time, thinking that Jian Nanshan was about to be released again, so she stayed on guard in advance. This year is a little different than last year. Chao Rushuan may also be released. When Lin Yi was sitting in the discipline hall, treating the discipline hall as his own home, and took the initiative to dig out Bai Taixin's collection of folk tea and drink it, the clever disciple immediately reported to Bai Taixin. When Bai Taixin heard this, was it okay? After Lin Yi entered the Golden Elixir Avenue, except for the elders, almost no one could control him. Thinking like this, Bai Tai hurried back from outside in a hurry. "Hey, Elder Bai, morning." Yilin drank hot tea, sat on the sandalwood Taishi chair, and waved to Bai Taixin with a smile on her face. "Oh, by the way, Lao Chen asked me to greet you on his behalf." "Greeting. Greetings to your sister." Bai Taixin was so angry that his whole abdominal muscles were trembling. He raised his finger and waved it in front of the door for a long time. Finally, he dropped it weakly. He decided not to care too much about the number 1 genius in today's Jianmen and asked, "What are you doing again, what are you here for?" Qianbei is very low-key, so low-key that all the senior officials in the sect are afraid of him. Yilin shook the gift box in her hand, I'll pick up brother Jian. That traitor. You are so angry with me. It was okay not to mention Jian Nanshan, but when he mentioned Jian Nanshan, Bai Tianxin became angry again. If he continues to be stubborn, I will break more than just his legs this time. By the way, where is senior sister Chao? Bai Tianxin was silent for a moment, and his face suddenly calmed down. He shook his head and said, the leader has decided not long ago to lock Chao Rushuan away for another 3 years. You don't need to ask any more questions. Then you can ask Elder Ye to get some Tinpin bone renewing ointment first. Yi Lin nodded, not surprised by the result. Be gentle. Bai Tianxin. When Yi Lin was squatting in the discipline hall, Bai Tianxin was finally squatted down. Xia Xiaoman was riding Xiao Qing, riding proudly in the fairy mountain. In the past 3 years, Xiao Qing has not only been Yi Lin's exclusive mount, but also Xia Xiaoman's exclusive mount. Xia Xiaoman saw that his senior brother was sitting comfortably on Xiaoqing's back, so he climbed on top of him shamelessly. She wasn't fooling around. After Xia Xiaoman stepped into the golden elixir, he was eligible to receive the ring. No, she just went to Mount Sumeru to draw numbers. Speaking of which, Xia Xiaoman was lucky. He got it the first time. He was sitting happily on the back of the crane, playing with the Sumeru ring on his ring finger. She didn't know why, but she always felt that the Na ring looked particularly pleasing to the eye when worn on this finger. On her wrist, she also wore the Kinkan twist lock that Lin's father handcuffed. The wooden bracelet and the ring were made of very different materials, but Xia Xiaoman felt that they matched perfectly. Right now, there was a commotion near the entrance to Fairy Island. Many disciples flew in that direction to watch the excitement. It turned out that the disciple who went down the mountain to purchase supplies this year returned from outside the mountain. Xia Xiaoman has not set foot on the Immortal Island for 3 years since the Tianjian sect sealed the mountain gate and the leader ordered that no disciples leave the mountain privately. In the entire Tianjian sect, the only opportunity to go down the mountain and visit the secular world is to purchase goods during the 12th lunar month every year. After Chao Rushuan was imprisoned, the procurement opportunity during the 12th lunar month became a random drawing. Disciples above the Qi training stage would nominate themselves, and then the elders would vote to designate the quota. This year's purchasing team is composed of 2 Jindan disciples and 12 elites in the Qi training period. But why is it so lively? Xia Xiaoman happened to meet a fellow disciple, so he grabbed the other person and asked. Xia Xiaoman's popularity within the sect was more than a little bit better than that of Lin Yi. The fellow sect member who was stopped was not annoyed and replied with a smile, "Junior sister doesn't know something." It is said that 2 senior brothers who are in the golden core stage are going down the mountain without any intention encountering a 100-year-old demon causing trouble. He acted on behalf of heaven, killed the demon, and transported the demon corpse back to the sect intact. The corpse of the century-old demon can be exchanged for a lot of contributions within the sect, pointing out that maybe we can get a chance to enter the sword tomb. At this point, the fellow disciple showed obvious envy in his eyes. A century-old monster? I've never seen Xia Xiaoman before. On a whim, she didn't want to just go back to Discipline Mountain. Anyway, going back would be a boring practice, so it would be better to see the great demon in action. When Xia Xiaoman thought of this, he followed the melon-eating army and flew towards the entrance of the mountain gate. Far away, Xia Xiaoman and others saw 2 young monks covered in awe-inspiring white light, flying toward the center of the fairy island with 1 step at a time. A cow corpse nearly 10 feet long was held in the hands of 2 Jindan disciples and 10 elites in the Qi training period, and they were flying in the air. One of the thick horns of the green cow corpse was cut off horizontally. The cow corpse was also covered with sword marks of varying depths. There were patches of red and black dried blood between the sword marks. A group of disciples gathered around, and the 2 returning Jindan disciples chatted and laughed happily. As they rushed back to the master's door, they boasted about the thrilling process of killing the century-old monster. This bull demon has practiced cultivation for 900 years, and is only 100 years away from becoming a 1,000-year-old demon. There are only a handful of 1,000-year-old demons who are famous in the world. Speaking of which, their process of killing the big demon was extremely dangerous. Logically speaking, the 900-year-old demon was not something that the two golden elixirs could easily deal with, but when they were killing the demon, the Tauren seemed to be out of shape and his aura was disordered. Even so, in the battle to slay the demon, the Tianjian sect and his team also lost 2 elite disciples in the Qi training period, which is heartbreaking. In addition to bragging about the demon-slaying process and being surrounded by the disciples, the purchasing team was like the return of the king. They also mentioned the interesting things they encountered during the trip down the mountain. Xia Xiaoman mingled among the crowd and listened with interest at first. Until... What? The 4 vassal princes raised their troops separately. There is a raging war outside. Dakian is in danger. Unintentionally, from the understatement of the Jindan monk, when Xia Xiaoman heard the news, his whole body felt as if he had been hammered, and he stayed in place. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 918. When Yi Lin saw Brother Jian again, she felt a feeling of 100 years of vicissitudes. Things have changed and people have changed. I saw that Jian Nanchun's white robe was dirty, just like the uniform of the beggar gang leader in previous movies, with holes and dirt from top to bottom. Brother Jian has disheveled hair, empty eyes, and dry lips, like a prodigal who has suffered countless beatings in the world of mortals. With this look, even Yi Lin couldn't help but feel distressed. Now that you're out, let's start a new life. Yi Lin sighed softly and presented the gift box. It contains 6 sets of his exquisitely carved swordsmen. Jian Nanchun did not answer, but walked straight to Bai Taixin. His empty eyes swayed slightly, and his withered face became more lively. Master, where is junior sister Chao? Humph, take care of yourself first. Bai Taixin shook his long sleeves vigorously, and cracks appeared on the low table next to him. Bai Pang turned around to prevent Jian Nanchun and Yi Lin from seeing his expression. But look at Bai Pang's slightly trembling shoulders. It seemed that Chao Rushuan was imprisoned again, and he felt uncomfortable. No matter what, Chao Rushuan is still a disciple he has carefully cultivated. Now 3 years and 3 years later, he doesn't know when he will be released. How can Bai Pang be happy about this? No. As expected, Jian Nanchun started to make trouble again. His long, messy hair moved without any wind. After shouting out one word heartbreakingly, he burst into tears. I, Jian Nanchun, have nothing to ask for in this life. I just want my disciple to return my junior sister's innocence. I will never let this happen. Junior sister, you are being wronged. In short, I don't accept it. Bai Taixin was trembling with anger. This is the 3rd time we have had a similar conversation. The first 2 times, he reluctantly broke Jian Nanchun's legs and imprisoned him. Are you coming this time? Why are you still here? Just when Bai Taixin was about to kill his relatives out of justice and deal a cruel blow, Yi Lin raised his hand. Elder Bai, I have a good relationship with senior brother Jian, why don't you let me persuade you? It's not good if you keep breaking his legs like this. What if? If you keep on disconnecting, if you can't connect one day, wouldn't it be a waste of brother Jian's talent? Although Bai Taixin was skeptical about Lin Yi's so-called persuasion, at the moment, he couldn't bear to do it again, so he agreed after careful consideration. Elder Bai, please stay away for a moment. I'm afraid the movement may be too intense. Yi Lin said with a smile, while stretching on the spot, pressing her legs, 1, 2, 3, 4, and began to do warm-up movements. Bai Fatar was wondering, why are you doing warm-up exercises? Because of the good words and persuasion between the brothers. But seeing Lin Yi's confident look, Bai Taixin nodded with a sullen expression, and floated out of the discipline hall with his hands behind his hands, making room for the two of them to chat. Flying hundreds of meters high in the air, Bai Tianxin turned around and looked down at the immortal island, focusing his eyes on the Commandment Mountain. In the discipline hall, as expected, there was a noise. It sounds a bit intense. And then, boom! The discipline hall exploded. Thick smoke billowed, and a single puff of smoke shot straight into the sky. The defensive formations of the discipline hall were all blown to pieces, and a big hole was broken in the ceiling. Bai Tianxin's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide, watching the black smoke billowing from the Commandment Mountain. He was stunned for a while before he managed to squeeze out a sentence. How, sighing is this? He probably wouldn't have said otherwise he would have scolded me long ago. Bai Tianxin was stunned, and saw Lin Yi smiling and slowly walking out of the thick smoke. With his right hand, he was dragging Jian Nanchun, who was spitting out black smoke and his eyes were white. He looked up at the astonished Bai Pang, who looked kind and shy. Smiling slightly, I'm sorry, Elder Bai, senior brother Jian is quite stubborn, but I finally convinced him. At least, he won't be tempted to run back and imprison himself now. After saying that, the young man with a kind smile dragged the unconscious brother Jian away alive. My house. Bai Tianxin watched with distress as his century-old foundation was destroyed in one fell swoop. After a while, after Lin Yi and Jian Nanchun left, Xia Xiaoman rushed back to the mountain gate in a hurry. Master, Xia Xiaoman grabbed Bai Tianxin as soon as he saw it, looking anxious. Master, I want to go down the mountain. An hour later, Jian Nanchun finally came back to life after taking Lin Yi's special life-sustaining pill. After he woke up, he recalled the scene in the discipline hall and was still frightened. Jian Nanchun watched junior brother Lin Yi with helpless eyes as he launched more than a dozen strange flying swords. He was about to say with a sneer, "Junior brother, you don't know the heights of the world," and calmly accepted the more than 10 flying swords. More than a dozen flying swords all exploded. Why did this flying sword explode so quickly? How could anyone in the world refine such a crazy magic weapon? Jian Nanchun was immediately stunned. Also woke up at the same time. After dragging Jian Nanchun to the courtyard of Linzai Villa, Jian Nanchun looked at the magnificent villa with a confused look on his face. He had the feeling that times have changed. Sure enough, Lin Yi smiled and said, "Senior brother Jian, times have changed." Jian Nanchun. Yilin filled a basin of water, wringed out the towel, handed it to Jian Nanchun, motioning for him to wipe off the dirt on his face and body, and then added another touch, "Junior sister Xiaoman and I are already golden elixirs, it's broken." The golden elixir of promotion record. Jian Nanchun's eyes widened. Yilin could have used the cleaning technique to clean brother Jian from head to toe. But Yilin felt that washing in this way was more ritualistic. Jian Nanchun wiped his face with a towel numbly, not knowing what to say. Junior brother Lin Yi gave him too much shock. 3 years ago, although junior brother Lin Yi behaved strangely, he was still a child after all. But 3 years later, the naughty child of the past was able to play with him. The violent shock caused his head to short-circuit for an instant, temporarily throwing the sadness from Chao Rushuan to the sky. Even if senior sister Chao is really wronged, you can't explain it clearly in just a few sentences. That's the decision made by the leader. Yilin showed a strange smile. This matter is not as bad as you think. Simple. While Jian Nanchun wiped his face sadly, he heard something in Lin Yi's words and couldn't help but ask, "Junior brother, what do you mean?" Yilin flicked her fingers and the barrier fell. In the barrier, Yilin smiled and said to Jian Nanchun, "The incident 3 years ago seems to have been done deliberately by the leader in order to expose the traitor. I assume that senior sister Chao is not the traitor, so the problem here we go, who is the traitor inside the door?" Jian Nanchun stopped wiping his face and froze in place. This stalemate lasted for half a day. Jian Nanchun fell into deep thought. Yes. If there is really a traitor in the door, who is this traitor? Yu Qingying? Li Qianqian? Or, is it someone else? Actually, whether or not there are traitors in Tianjian sect really has nothing to do with Yilin. Although Yilin has been here for a long time, she has some feelings for her. But from an intellectual analysis, he is still a passerby. Even if he becomes part of the story, it is still a passerby's story. He had a suspicion, but no evidence. Moreover, finding out the traitor now would do no good. Under Yilin's rational analysis, Jian Nanchun finally changed his mind. Just going to Bai Taixin's place and making noise would have no effect. It would be better to regain the glory and find the traitor, so that Chao Rushuan can be truly innocent. Thinking of this, Jian Nanchun finally cheered up again. He washed himself carefully, tied up his long hair again, shaved off his sparse beard, put on a new pair of white clothes, and once again transformed into the wind-walking Jian Nanchun. After realizing the idea, Brother Jian tightly held the wooden box presented by Yilin, which contained 6 dolls. He was deeply moved in his heart. "Junior brother Lin, you are really my good junior brother." "That's necessary," Yilinchan admitted shamelessly. "Can your exploding flying sword be better than your senior brother's?" Jian Nanchun asked for help by the way. Yilin's chain self-destruction flying sword was made by stealing a lot of materials from Zhejian Mountain and refining it using the furnace of Zhejian Mountain. It is especially cherished. But since Jian Nanchun asked, Yilin was too embarrassed to refuse, so she evened it out a little and asked Brother Jian to save some of it. After all, it was a disposable magic weapon. It would cost less to explode and could not be recycled. This was the first time that Jian Nanchun held such an exaggerated and cruel magic weapon in his hands. He wanted to fly out and try it immediately. After putting away the chain self-explosion flying sword, Jian Nanchun sat in the yard and began to think about how to save Chao Rushuan from the sea of suffering. Seeing Brother Jian regaining his glory, Yilin thought over and over again, but finally did not tell the story about Konglu. What if Brother Jian still has a chance? Yilin was thinking this at the time. After successfully getting Jian Nanchun out of prison, Yilin planned to clean up everything tonight and cleanse Brother Jian of the bad smell. And just when Yilin was washing the pots and pans in the kitchen, preparing natural ingredients, picking up the kitchen knife and getting ready to do it, the surrounding air temperature dropped sharply. A crying figure fell from the sky and landed in the courtyard of Linzai Villa. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Shueshi. Chapter 919. Linzai Villa. In the kitchen. Come on, let's freeze it here. Yilin nuzzled at the frosty snow sword floating nearby and pointed at the filtered water in the basin. The frost snow sword trembled and bent, making a slight sword cry. It seems to be saying, "Aren't you capable of freezing yourself?" As soon as Yilin saw the tip of Shuangxiu's sword raised, she knew what the old swordsman was expressing, so Yilin smiled and said, "You haven't taught me a lesson for a few days, and you want to go to heaven." Obviously, Devil Lin's heaven had other intentions. Frost Snow Sword immediately became obedient and helped Yilin freeze a piece of ice. Shave the ice, wash the fruit, squeeze the juice, and pour it on. Then sprinkle some dried and ground Lingyingko Jialangxiang powder. The blue smoke lingers, adding a spicy taste. The spiritual energy is hidden and not dispersed. Perfect. After a stick of incense, blue light flashed, and Yilin divided the finished product Callan fragrant hibiscus fruit juice shaved ice into 3 portions. The 3 brothers and sisters sat on the animal skin sofa in the living room and shaved a cup each. Junior sister, calm down. Yilin estimated from the special effects that the soul food seemed to have a soothing effect. Sure enough, Xia Ziomen, who was sitting on the animal skin sofa in the villa hall and crying, couldn't hold back the temptation and took a few bites, but immediately calmed down and stopped crying. "Hey, senior brother, this ice is so sweet." "Is it sweet? If it's sweet, eat more." Yilin ruffled Xiaoxiaomen's hair and smiled slightly. Jian Nanchun was just fooling around. If Jian Nanchun was the only one crying, Yilin wouldn't bother to make soul food. "Gentlemen, there is no trouble that a bottle of wine can't solve. If there is, then have another pot." Jian Nanchun and Xiaoxiaomen sat alone on the animal skin sofa on one side. They each finished eating shaved ice and felt comfortable. Xiaoxiaomen's eyes were swollen, but she couldn't cry anymore. She rubbed her eyes, feeling a little embarrassed, and told her the reason for crying. A few minutes later, the four vassal kings in the east, west, south, and north raised their troops to revolt. Marched to Qingdu at the same time. This melee has been going on for more than a year. Daqian dynasty is in danger. Xiaoxiaomen also heard about it. A golden elixir disciple who was out shopping accidentally revealed a few words. As soon as he saw Xiaoxiaomen, he immediately ran away with the body of the big bull demon without looking back. Xiaoxiaomen noticed something fishy and immediately rushed to Bai Tianxin and said that he was going down the mountain. Bai Tianxin was hesitant at first, saying that there were rules and regulations, that this was not in compliance with the rules and that there was not the conditions. He also said that it required a lot of procedures for approval and review. In short, it was very difficult. Xiaoxiaomen tried every possible means to find excuses, including "my father is seriously ill." Bai Tianxin was said to have made everyone stupid. Xiaomen, do you really think that no one knows the huge news about Emperor Xia Yuan's death? Your father has been buried long ago, and is he still seriously ill? Are you seriously ill in the grave? Bai Tianxin, who was forced to panic, said. Anyone in Tianjianmen can come out of the mountain, but you can't. After listening to Xiaoxiaomen's narration, Yilin suddenly realized. Please, senior brother, take me down the mountain? I will be obedient and not make trouble. In a panic, Xiaoxiaomen thought of the omnipotent senior brother Lin Yi and turned around to come here. Yilin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That's a super mountain protection formation. How can I sneak out? Xiaoxiaomen didn't believe it. You are Lin Yi. That Lin Yi. Who in the whole Tianjian sect doesn't know that you, Lin Yi, are as good as Fang Yuanqian's direct disciple Hua Tong in terms of formation skills? Hua Tong. Senior brother Tong even said in public, if there is a forest, why not flowers? If there is a forest, why not flowers? In order to show his innocence, Yilin immediately shook his head and denied, impossible. Tianjianmen's mountain protecting formation is different from ordinary formations. This super mountain protecting formation uses the supreme mountain as the eye of the formation, penetrating downwards through the missionary garden, and the rest 10 hanging mountains, Commandment Mountain, Baiko Mountain, Wenjian Mountain, Wanjuan Mountain, Fangyuan Mountain, Zhejian Mountain, Tei Mountain, Yanmo Mountain, Spirit Beast Mountain, and Sumeru Mountain. These 10 mountains are used as the formation flag. You are now looking outside, everywhere you look is part of the mountain protecting formation. Not only that, Yilin paused, stuffed shaved ice into his mouth to moisten his throat, and continued, the 10 suspended fairy mountains are like satellites, surrounded by 10 stars, surrounded by the supreme mountain and the preaching garden. The axis of the formation rotates in concentric circles, one positive and one negative, one yin and one yang, changing every moment. It is extremely difficult to find the operating rules of the formation. It is even harder than reaching the sky. It also took me, cough cough. Yilin kept talking about her thoughts, saying it was impossible, but she made Xiaoxiaomen and Jian Nanchun dumbfounded. Etc. What did we hear? Didn't you reveal the biggest secret of Tianjian sect? Once this secret is known to the elders, they might be silenced. Jian Nanchun even hesitated whether to cover his ears at this moment and quickly forgot about the above words. Ahem, in short, it's hard to compare to reaching the sky. Yilin spread her hands and expressed that she was helpless. Jian Nanchun wondered, it's not difficult to reach the fourth heaven. Yilin glared at brother Jianren, if you don't know how to speak, don't speak. Plop. Yilin was going to pretend to have a quarrel with brother Jian to put the matter aside. Unexpectedly, Xia Xiaoman jumped off the sofa, knelt down in front of Yilin, and bent his head deeply, leaving only the back of his head with thick hair facing Yilin. Hey, this hair actually has two twists. Yilin only noticed this today. Xia Xiaoman's kneeling immediately darkened the cheerful atmosphere in the villa. After she knelt down, she was shaking all over and didn't speak, just silent. Yilin lowered his head and looked at Xia Xiaoman's clenched fist. The white back of his palm was trembling slightly because he squeezed it so tightly that his knuckles were white. Seeing this, Yilin sighed softly, you are a dignified eldest princess. If the Xia family's empire is in jeopardy, then the eldest princess should not do anything wrong. The injustice of the faint king, if the Xia family's kingdom changes hands to others, my father will be under the 9 springs, even if he dies, he will not be able to rest in peace. I, Xia Xiaoman, no longer have the face to face the ancestors of the Xia family's royal family. Let alone just kneel down, even if senior brother Lin Yi wants to cut off my hands and feet, as long as senior brother is willing to help Xiaoman go down the mountain, Xiaoman will not frown and let senior brother do whatever he wants. Isn't this how the word do whatever you want is used? Yilin complained in her heart, waved her hand, asked Frost Snow Sword to come over, and held it directly, left hand or right hand. Xia Xiaoman and Jian Nanchun were stunned when they heard this. Ah, this? Really bad? But Xia Xiaoman still gritted his teeth and stretched out his hands obediently. The hand wearing the Qincan twist lock, a heirloom of the Lin family, stretched out extremely long. Yilin. In the end, of course, I couldn't do it. Yilin was helpless, you did it on purpose, right? I know that senior brother loves Xiaoman the most. Xia Xiaoman wiped away his tears and smiled happily. He still looked as heroic as before. Jian Nanchun whispered from the side, I don't know who I learned this routine from. Yilin and Xia Xiaoman decided to secretly go down the mountain. In fact, Yilin was not all for Xia Xiaoman. War broke out outside, and the chaos was greatest when dynasties changed. Although her parents live in the remote Qingnu village, as the saying goes, the eggs will not be intact if they are overturned. Yilin is also worried that even if Bai Chuchu is taking care of them, her parents may not be safe in Qingnu village. In addition, I haven't been home for 3 years. I miss Qingnu village where I have lived for more than 10 years. Naturally, Jian Nanchun would not do such a blatant violation of the sex rules. After much hesitation, Jian Nanchun decided to stay inside the door, trying to find out the traitor, find evidence, and clear up the grievances of junior sister Chao Rushuan. Regarding Jian Nanchun's determination, Yilin could only wish for happiness. The Heavenly Sword Gate mountain protecting formation, surrounded by 10 stars, will form a straight line every 99 days. This is called the 10 stars in a row. I have seen it in the 10 stars chess game played by Black and White and Air Yang. A similar layout, I don't know if this is the life gate that was intentionally left behind at the beginning of the design of this mountain protecting formation. Only at this moment of this day, the mountain protecting formation will have a brief glimmer of hope. Once this day passes, we can only wait for another 99 days. Yilin set up more than a dozen layers of barriers in one go, just in case. Inside the barrier, Yilin expressed his understanding of the mountain protecting formation. Of course, this is just a theory I came up with from my observations. I also sneak into the library of Wanjuan Mountain from time to time to look for relevant books, but there is no written information left about this mountain protecting formation, and everything is based on speculation. Although Jian was not involved in the description of this operation downhill, he was still interested in listening. Upon hearing this, Jian was stunned again. Wait a minute, you actually sneaked into the Wanjuan Mountain Library? Isn't that a forbidden area? Yilin rolled his eyes. Nonsense, how else do you think I've spent the past 3 years? How many books are there on the bookshelf in my room that I haven't had time to return? You have to go and get them yourself. But that's not important, I can't help but yes, if you don't tell me, no one will know, so wouldn't it be against the rules? Jian Nanchun and Xia Xiaoman nodded subconsciously, secretly thinking that this made sense. Yilin continued, the last time the 10 hanging mountains formed a 10-star continuation was 67 days ago. There are still 33 days until the next 10-star continuation. Before that, you should keep a low profile. No, junior sister Xiaoman, please keep a low profile and don't act hot-tempered. The better behaved you are with Bai Taixin, practice when it's time to practice, make tea when it's time to make tea, and don't let Bai Pang get the clues. Promise to complete the mission, Xia Xiaoman promised, slapping his chest with a bang, indicating that he would not reveal his flaws. Then, she couldn't help but ask, what about you, senior brother? Me? If I'm peaceful, then it's called abnormal. I do whatever I should do in normal times, and I can even be more outrageous. I make the door full of chaos to cover it up. Yilin took the opportunity to find an excuse for her next actions to make her feel at ease. Just in time, since it's rare to go down the mountain, I also want to prepare some more practical magic weapons and save a batch of seasonings and herbs. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 920. During this period of time, Yilin returned to Linyi as usual. Even worse. One day, the disciples who were gliding over Fairy Island were lucky enough to witness the spectacular scene of several elders flying high into the sky together, searching for Linyi's traces all over the mountains and fields, cursing. Their complaints were nothing more than that the fur of the spirit beasts in Spirit Beast Mountain was plucked out again, the furnace in Zujian Mountain exploded again, the seedlings in the new medicine garden were plucked out again not long after they were planted, and so on. A few days after the elders collectively patrolled the mountain, Chenbei appears in Zhizun Mountain. Junior sister, why are you looking for me? Chenbei's mood was very complicated. He deliberately combed his white hair straight and put on new clothes. Yamauchi. There was a faint sigh, and then, pieces of silk cloth flew high into the sky and were neatly arranged in front of Chenbei. Chenbei was stunned. At first he thought it was some kind of book, but when he saw it clearly, he almost vomited blood. It turns out that these silk cloths are all written in blood. Several disciples and elders from the mountain jointly wrote letters in blood complaining about Lin Yi's crazy behavior. Your disciple Lin Yi has gone too far. The leader shouted softly from the heart of the mountain. But the tone was more like a sigh of resignation than a rebuke. Chenbei felt that he could not argue, but, he is not my disciple at all. Although he had a good relationship with Yilin, he did not officially accept Lin Yi as his disciple, both in public and private matters. At last, Chenbei left Zhizun Mountain depressedly. Empty joy. Even if Chenbei didn't read the blood book carefully, from Lin Yi's usual style, he could roughly deduce how shocking the content in the blood book must be. Back to business. It was usually easy for him to find Lin Yi, but when Lin Yi was determined to hide, it would take a lot of effort for Chenbei to find Lin Yi. Just when Chenbei, like other elders, let go of their spiritual consciousness and conducted a carpet search across the mountains and plains, Yilin secretly came to the Commandment Mountain. Don't get me wrong, he didn't come here to borrow or take anything. He came to see Chao Rushuan secretly. Sister, I'm getting ready to go down the mountain. Yulin originally didn't want to pay attention to this matter, but later he thought about agreeing to Chao Rushuan after leaving here. It might be difficult to agree, so he came to inform him in advance. Inside the cave, Chao Rushuan, who had been sitting quietly with the same posture from beginning to end, slowly raised his eyes. "Take me away. This seems to be against the house rules, right? Are you still afraid of violating the sect rules?" Chao Rushuan's eyelashes trembled slightly, his head lowered and his eyebrows lowered. When he raised his head again, Chao Rushuan's eyes were firm. "The sky is big and the earth is big, Konglu will only see me. If you take me away, I will do everything possible to find Konglu. Okay, as you said, this mountain sect has strict rules, so it doesn't matter if you don't abide by them." Sure enough, Chao Rushuan saved a hand. She had known that Yulin would not be able to find traces of Konglu in the vast world on her own. At that moment, Yulin recalled Jian Nanshun's expression and felt that brother Jian was getting worse and worse. "I can't say this to senior brother Jian." Yulin felt uncomfortable for Jian Nanshun inexplicably. Soon, the appointed day arrived. Late at night. The moon is dark and the wind is high. This night, at a specific moment, 10 suspended mountains will form a straight line over Fairy Island. This so-called birth door lasts less than a stick of incense, and the opportunity is fleeting. Brother and sister Yulin and Xiaoxiaoman had already packed their bags and were preparing to sneak down the mountain. After Xiaoxiaoman got the Sumina ring, he threw all his things into the Sumira ring, dressed lightly, and wandered around the world. She looked back and saw that senior brother Linyi was carrying a big package on his back, and she didn't know what was inside. "Senior brother, don't you have a ring?" Xiaoxiaoman asked in confusion. Yulin was helpless. "Can't I just pretend?" When Xiaoman heard this, his mind was filled with questions. The space of the Naja is enough to fit into a square. What exactly have you filled with it, and what else can't be filled? Is it all seasoning? It's too much. Xiaoxiaoman was surprised and happy. Yulin wasn't talking nonsense either. His storage space is indeed full. He refined a bunch of practical little magic weapons. Not to mention anything else, the pile of self-destructing flying swords took up most of his space and memory. It's a pity that the props I made cannot be turned into cards. It was only then that Yulin realized how practical props that could be turned into cards were. While thinking about it, Yulin looked up at the sky. 10 suspended mountains were high in the sky, running on their own in a predetermined orbit, and were about to be connected in a line. While there was still time, Yulin took out an old turtle shell, stuffed 3 copper coins into the shell, shook it gently, and then shook it on the ground. Yulin calmly looked at the simplest turtle shell divination technique among the Tai Yi Gua technique, pondered for a moment, and then quickly put it away. What did you occupy? Xiaoxiaoman knows her senior brother very well. She knows that every time he goes to a certain suspended mountain, he will tell her a fortune to see if he will be stolen. Good luck. Yulin smiled, and after putting away the turtle shell and 3 copper coins, he looked back at the closed door of Lao Chen's room, and asked softly, "Since you know that I am going to sneak down the mountain to play, why don't you come out and give me a gift?" Tisk, the door was still closed tightly, and Lao Chen's cursing voice came from inside, "If you want to get out, I'm sleeping soundly tonight, I don't know, don't see, don't understand, and don't care. The days are long. Junior sister and I will finish handling worldly affairs and return to the Master's Gate to receive punishment. Then I can't thank you enough." Inside the house, Chen Bei opened the last pot of purple bamboo brew with a bang. In an instant, the aroma of wine wafted out, making the moonlit night drunk. In the sky, there was no light for a moment. 10 hanging mountains were connected in a line, and dense clouds appeared inexplicably in the sky, completely covering the moon. Yulin took a deep breath. "As I said before, my home is at the foot of Qingnu Mountain and Qingnu Village. Old Chen, Take care. Roll. Lao Chen was in the house and took a big sip, feeling a little uncomfortable for no reason. In the distance, on the dark sea level and a thin line of sky, a distant point of light suddenly appeared when the 10 stars in a row formed. Although Yilin was a little reluctant to give up, he didn't dare to waste time. If he delayed again, he would have to wait 99 days. He took out the frost letter nail, carefully sensed the position of Chao Rushuan, put on the hanging ring on his right hand, and casually drew a circle around him. As the splashing orange sparks moved, a wormhole appeared beside Yilin. As we all know, Yilin needs coordinates to open the portal. The formations arranged on the stone walls around the confinement cave have the effect of prohibiting movement and can even interfere with Yilin's coordinates positioning. But with the mutual induction between the mother and daughter nails, Yilin's coordinates for opening the wormhole can be 100% accurate, and it will not go wrong. Chao Rushuan quickly stepped out of the wormhole. Before and after stepping out of the wormhole, she found that she had been transferred from the confinement cave to the handyman squad instantly. Chao Rushuan's face seemed calm, but in fact, there was already a turmoil deep in his heart. Junior brother Lin Yi's spell was completely beyond her understanding. This is not something that a mere golden elixir monk can do. Wait for me. When Yilin, Xia Xiaoman, and Chao Rushuan were about to fly towards the sky, a sword light fell quickly from high in the sky. At first glance, it turned out to be Jian Nanchun. How could you leave me behind? Jian Nanchun was high-spirited and put his hands behind his back. He took a deep look at Chao Rushuan and quickly looked away. He no longer said junior sister on his lips, and finally looked normal. When Yilin saw that Jian Nanchun had been stationed here for a long time, she felt a headache secretly. She never expected that her action pattern would be guessed. We are still too familiar with each other. At this moment, Yilin had no time to ask Jian Nanchun how he guessed it. After the Shenman of the mountain protection formation opened, Yilin took out his skateboard, stepped on it, soared into the sky, and turned into a stream of light and went straight into the distance. Xia Xiaoman, Chao Rushuan, and Jian Nanchun, each wielding a sword, followed closely behind. Several people lined up and disappeared into the Shenman in an instant. In Chenbei's room. He never opened the door or said goodbye to Yilin face to face. Chenbei just drank big gulps of purple bamboo wine in the dark little room, feeling particularly luxurious and arrogant. Little bastard. Chenbei was almost drunk and couldn't help but curse again. At this moment, in the sky, a beautiful figure wrapped in black robes flew out of the fairy island silently. After Yilin and the four left, before the Shenman of the mountain protection formation was about to close, with a swish, it passed over the mulu of the handyman class and went straight to the outside of the mountain. After the woman in black left, Chenbei's face was ashen. He opened the wooden door with a bang, and stared at the direction where the woman in black left. Sure enough, there is a traitor inside the door. The leader of the sect came to the edge of the cliff at some unknown time. Her cold eyes stared at the line of sky, where the Shenman was gradually disappearing, and she looked back at Chenbei. That person named Li is just a chess piece. Chenbei's cloudy eyes flashed with murderous intent. The leader nodded. Only you, me, the elders, and Lin Yi know about the Shenman of the mountain guard formation in the Tian sword section. Chenbei nodded. The little kid from Spirit Beast Mountain is far inferior to Lin Yi in formation skills. She will never be able to see the only way to survive in the mountain protecting formation on her own. In other words, the real traitor to the demon sect is among the elders. So far, Chenbei and the leader finally confirmed this matter together.